We're so excited to spend the next hour diving into the top 5 AI prompts nonprofit consultants should be using to manage and grow their business. As a consultant myself, I use AI day in and day out. Kat and Julia, having coached hundreds of nonprofit consultants and run their own businesses, are also experts in the utilization of AI. So we're excited to cover today what can be most helpful for you.
Hey guys, welcome. I'm Julia, and we also have Tamara here representing the team from Relatable. So thank you all for joining today. Like Bryan said, please feel free to turn on your camera. We try to keep these casual. We don't do a full formal Zoom webinar or whatever. So yeah, turn on your camera, chat. You can drop where you're from in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. We are now doing these every month. We did one last month on pricing, which I thought was really fun, really helpful for a lot of people from the feedback we got. So we figured we would try again this month talking about AI. This is also what we are focusing on inside the mentorship community this month. So it resonates. All right, I'm pulling up my slides here. Bryan, Tamara, if you guys want to just let me know if you can see the presentation.
You're good. Looks great.
And all right, and you can see me moving here. All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, everyone. So we're talking about AI prompts today that you need as a nonprofit consultant. The goal is to save time, obviously, to delegate tasks, even if you don't have a team yet, and help you focus on what matters. A lot of you are probably solo consultants, maybe just starting out in your business. You don't have the resources to be hiring a team or hiring consultants to support you. So AI is really a game changer that comes in handy that helps you keep your overhead low while being able to tackle all the different things that you need to do to run your business. So I really did want to start with a discussion. If you guys would humor me, you can drop your responses in the chat or feel free to raise your hand and share. Where are you feeling the most challenges in your business, maybe outside of client delivery? But what are the business tasks that are really draining the most of your time and your energy right now that you're really looking for support with? I see some people dropping stuff in the chat. Calendaring, task management. Yeah. Anyone else? Any thoughts?
I see scaling, outbound messaging, email drafts, marketing, BD, which business development, I would assume.
Yeah, outbound messaging, marketing, email drafts. So a lot of the heavy lifting that goes into running your business, we know, is building a pipeline. So originally when you start, you're like, okay, I need everything to get clients. Then we get clients. And then we're like, okay, great. I have to focus everything in on dealing with client delivery and doing all those projects I promised. Now I need to, oh, wait, go back and start doing marketing, sending things out every week, making sure I'm building up that pipeline again so that I have future clients when these projects I'm currently doing close. So we hear a lot of that. People also talk about time management, time blocking. When we have our full-time jobs, a lot of things are decided for us, meetings and whatnot. But when you have your own time, you're at home, you're like, great, how do I structure my week? Especially when working from home, we end up doing laundry or making lunch for the kids, things like that. And we're not really focusing all the time on the business. So those things can be difficult as well. Sales, anyone have trouble with sales? I'm assuming no one has trouble with sales, right? Everyone's got all the clients they need.
We're all thriving.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to go into the presentation here. The reality of consulting. Something that I hear all the time from nonprofit professionals is that they wear all the hats, right? Has anyone ever heard that term before? So you are hired for one job and you're the development director, you're the marketing director, whatever, but you do a little bit of everything in your job. And that's why a lot of people want to leave their full-time work and go into consulting because they think it's great. I can decide what I want to work on. And then they realize when they get into running their consulting business that it's a new version of wearing all the hats because it's not just client delivery. You're actually doing your own marketing, your own sales, you're doing all of your client communication, scheduling, and you're also handling all the operations, the finance, all the back end things that make the business function and keep it profitable. So that's all on you now. So a lot of times that comes as a little bit of a shock when people start working. They're like, oh, I'm not getting paid for like 75% of what I actually do to run my business. and delivering client work is really only part of the job. Does that resonate with anyone? Drop a thumbs up in the chat if you've experienced that kind of shock when you started your business. Yeah, I see that. So our journey with AI, we've been consulting for about 5 years, Catalina and I. When we started, it was there, but it wasn't really something people had adopted yet. We certainly were not using it. We were doing a lot of things manually. We were doing a lot of custom work, sitting down and saying, okay, I need to write a LinkedIn post for today. I need to come up with this proposal. And we would sit on Zoom calls together, developing these proposals, spending a whole day on it, sending it out to the client or the potential client and never hearing back. So it really just a lot of time intensive free work that we weren't getting paid for, we weren't getting compensated for, and we really didn't know what we were doing. So as AI grew and as we started using it, we were able to begin building not only templates, but systems in the ways that we adopted it. And ultimately, we have saved hours, we've standardized a lot of processes, and we've improved our efficiency a great deal. And I'm sure all of you have experienced that to some degree. I do think it's funny. Everyone thinks they're like the only person that has ever used AI. So like everyone thinks they're like secretly using it. No one else is using it. So it's not true. I'm pretty sure everyone's using it in some way, but I do want to bring that up as a word of caution that AI is powerful. The language learning models, they're great. They help us a lot. But if they're misused, I really strongly want to say that I think they can really hurt your credibility. Clients and leads can spot lazy AI writing. I can spot lazy AI writing, and I know a lot of you can too. I see these phrases all the time, and I don't know why. Someone could probably explain this to me, but the language models like ChatGPT, they favor certain phrases, things like let's dive in and for clarity and impact. So these are red flags for me. When I see that, I know it's AI. There's also just certain sentence formulations that they do. It's like, it's not this, it's that in every single piece of writing that they do. So try to avoid those or edit those out. Bryan likes to say, like, make it human. And I like that term for even if you've used AI to write something, making sure that it's going to sound like you, not replace you, that is going to hurt your credibility. So, it's not everything, but it is a helpful tool when you are on a budget and starting out on your own. And then the AI landscape, there's a billion. We just did a presentation in the community last week, and we had someone come in and talk about all of the different AI tools that you could use. And I was blown away because I had not even heard of half of them. There are video creating ones, there's image generating ones, there's calendars, there's ones that can create your website now. Has anyone heard of Lovable? So you can like type in what website you want and it'll just build you a website. So we're not talking about any of those today. Here are some other similar ones to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot. Microsoft has one now. So they're all over the place. I'm not here to talk to you guys about the different kinds of AI that you could be using. I want to talk about the prompts that we're putting in. We're going to be using mostly ChatGPT prompts today. You guys can use whatever you prefer, but we're really focusing on the prompts, the inputs, and the strategy behind those inputs and what they can really do to help you shape your business. Okay, so 4 core prompts to run your business, and then I have a bonus prompt. And I'm calling this Yogi's Choice. I like yoga. I haven't done it in a little while because I am 4 months postpartum and haven't gotten back to it yet. But I do love in yoga, if any of you have done yoga in the past, there's like the standard practice, there's the downward dog or whatever move that you do, and then there's the variation if you want to do it a little bit differently. So that's how I approach these prompts. I'm giving you the basic model, and then we're going to do the advanced variation. So that should hopefully help you guys. If some of you are more advanced users, you can go ahead. And if you are just getting started using AI, using ChatGPT, then you can stick with the basic for now. And the prompts that I'm covering today are going to touch on the 4 core pillars of a consulting business. This is how we teach you to build your business in the mentorship program. So we really believe that it all comes down to these 4. It's marketing, sales, it's client delivery, and it's operations. So I'm going to give you just one for each of these that will help you to work more efficiently in that pillar. And do any of these, I'm just curious, any of these stand out to you guys as one that you struggle with when you see it like that? Is it marketing? Is it sales? Is it client delivery? Is it that back end stuff? Does something stand out as like really your pain point? And drop it in the chat. Operations, sales.
I was going to say, I feel like a lot of marketing is very front and center, but I think some of the more nuanced applications of AI, especially in sales and operations, are maybe a little harder to unearth.
Yeah, and I think it's preference too. I see people saying operations. Someone like I love to be in the back end of an Excel file or in QuickBooks, and there's people on our program who are like, "That's my favorite thing to do." And then I see other people who are like, "Oh God, I don't ever want to look at a spreadsheet, but I love doing marketing." Catalina loves doing marketing. A lot of you have probably seen her LinkedIn. She posts on LinkedIn. She calls it her diary. She posts on it all the time. She loves sharing there. And I do not. If you go to my LinkedIn, it looks like I logged off a long time ago. So everyone has a preference in their business, but that weak spot is going to be the thing that you don't like to do. And that's really where something like AI can come in and help you to make up for the things that you really don't enjoy doing. All right. Thanks, guys, for sharing. All right. So the first prompt we're going to talk about is in the marketing pillar, and it's going to come down to messaging. So the problem that a lot of nonprofit consultants and really any consultants face is that their messaging feels vague or unclear. We often talk to new consultants in our program about their niche and their services that they offer. And Catalina and I love to tell the story of the services that we were offering in our first 6 months as consultants. And we were just talking to people and trying to find out what they might be interested in paying for, what services they were looking for. And every time someone would tell us, oh, they needed help with grant writing, they needed help with website design, they needed help with marketing for their email marketing program, we would add it to our services page on our website to the point where we actually had like 38 or 40 services listed. And trying to, first of all, that's just a terrible idea. Don't do that because people have no idea what to hire you for. But also messaging was almost impossible because we had no idea how to create a unique value proposition or show where we were uniquely qualified to help people solve specific problems. So this prompt, in as much as it is helpful for you to craft messaging, is also going to be a little bit of a pushback on you if you're not clear right now on what your services are. You feel like you're offering too much, and that's causing your messaging to be vague or unclear. So the basic move for this prompt to help craft your messaging or be your messaging coach is to provide ChatGPT or whatever servers you're using with your bio, your services, and your target audience. So if you don't know those, stop right there and you need to go and figure that out. That's a big step before you can really do any messaging. You need to understand, how am I presenting myself? What's the bio that I'm putting forward? What are specific services or niche that I'm offering? And what specific audience within the nonprofit sector am I serving? And then what we can do is develop an I help statement, which is basically I help X with Y so that they can achieve Z. ChatGPT will understand that. And so that it's clear, client focused, and sounds like me. So that is a really powerful prompt. You can go work with it back and forth until you come up with a couple variations, and you can try those out on your website. You can try those out on your LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you're messaging to people. You can put it in your signature on your email. There's lots of places that you can use this statement. That is going to help people identify with you and see if you're actually the kind of consultant that can solve their specific problem. So the advanced variation of this would be content batching. And we were talking about this yesterday in the community. People are like, oh yeah, like I was posting on LinkedIn for a while, but then I got so busy with my clients, I haven't posted on there since December. And so then you're like, oh, it's on my list, I need to do that, but then you never get to it. So we'll talk about time management a little bit later, but content batching is another great way that you can use ChatGPT to help you with creating posts and then scheduling them. So once you've figured out your I help statement, you've figured out your niche, we have people in our community who focus on, for instance, if you're struggling with your niche, they focus on donor retention, they focus on major gift, they focus on board development, they might focus on executive director coaching. There's a lot of different things that you can focus on. your content on LinkedIn or wherever you're posting or sharing about your work. Maybe you have a blog, you have a Substack, you have your website, you do YouTube or webinars. Your content should all reflect that. So if we're doing it in advanced variation using ChatGPT, maybe every Tuesday, this is what Catalina does. She sits down, she comes up with a bunch of topics, and then she starts crafting the content that she wants to share. She asks it for, she doesn't just say 10 LinkedIn posts, because if you do that, it's going to kind of run out of steam. But if you give it the topic and you say what you want to talk about, and then you give it your voice, that's a bonus. I do recommend uploading writing samples to guide the tone. It will start giving you back posts that you can do and you can use. And then what you can do is you can go into LinkedIn or you can use your social media scheduler and schedule those out for the month so that you're done until next month. And then you can do the same process over again. So this is a really simple but powerful way to really refine your messaging and then batch content so that you always have a pipeline of outbound messaging going out there to your audience and raising awareness and making sure that you're staying top of mind with potential future clients. All right.
Yeah, and I think I'll just add, I think this is a great reminder that like all forms of prompting within AI or chat is all about the specificity and level of detail in the prompt. So kind of the art of mastering the prompt is giving the system enough detail to give you something that isn't generic and regurgitated and to build something that is specific to you. It's also why using the upload document feature is really, really helpful. I'm constantly exporting data, spreadsheets, messaging, you name it, to feed as much detail that's unique to me and my business in order to get the most customizable responses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so that's why I say here is my bio services and audience. You guys would actually want to say, here's my bio, upload it. Here's my services, list them, and then my audience, and get as specific as possible. I work with small to medium-sized nonprofits who specifically support environmental issues in these 3 states. That right there is going to really narrow down the pool of whom you're messaging to, and then you can go from there. So these prompts are really important, but as I'll say throughout this, it's really about understanding the strategy behind your inputs in order to get the outputs that you're looking for. Okay, now we're going to move into sales, everyone's favorite. You guys don't need this. I know you all have plenty of clients and have no issue landing new work. But if there's anyone out here who does have trouble with this, some people do express that they have trouble with proposals after you've done a discovery call. They have maybe this potential client has thrown a million things at you. They don't really seem to quite understand what they're asking for. And now it's your job to divine out the problem and the solution and then put it in a really nice proposal that you can use to guide the engagement and hopefully close the project so that you can be hired. These are really important. I don't know if I have any grant writers on the call, but it's similar to submitting a grant proposal. You really want to tell a story. You want to make sure that you've covered all the bases. I was saying yesterday to our group that it's almost like writing a novel or creating a movie where there's the opening, the introduction, you get to know the characters, there's the climax, and then there's the following resolution, and you know how the movie ends, and then there's closing credits. So you really want to cover every step of the journey in your proposal. So ChatGPT can help you with that. You can create a prompt to do that, but we want to be asking it for very specific things. So we want to draft a client proposal based on this project description. We want to insert the description. Bonus tip is that if you use any kind of recording tool while you run the discovery call, you can take the transcripts of the call that you ran with the potential client and upload them here so that the ChatGPT can actually understand everything that was discussed. And then we want to break it out in a very certain way. We want to include overview. We want to include scope, the projected outcomes from the engagement, whether it's a retainer, a project, hourly, whatever it is that you're offering. We want to have a timeline with a kickoff, start date, phases, if there's anything like that, and then clear next steps. We need signatures and a start date and whatever happens next. I also like to include in proposals, I always tell the consultants who we work with to include the exclusions. So what's not included in this proposal? So that's how we would input this into ChatGPT. And for an advanced variation, this is something that I've been doing more frequently when using ChatGPT, is to ask it to interview me. So after I give it a project or something like this, maybe I've put everything in, I say, okay, now interview me, ask me questions to pressure test my scope of work and make sure that I've covered all my bases. So I'll say, what did I miss in this proposal? What did I not cover? And it'll actually ask you questions if you tell it to, and you can respond in real time. That's a great way to have a conversation with it. And then it will say something like, do you want me to update it based on the responses you just gave me? So that's something that I've really been enjoying doing. I don't know if anyone else has ever tried that.
Quick question. We had a question in the chat. Do you need the paid version of ChatGPT for interview mode?
I don't think so. I do use the paid version. I don't think so because it's not like a button. It's not a special mode. I just tell it to interview me. I literally just say, okay, now interview, like ask me questions, interview style about my proposal. And I say, what did I miss? What else should I include? What's confusing? And I ask it to go piece by piece and ask me questions. That's not a special feature. That's just something I kind of made up. That is helpful because sometimes it will ask you a bunch of questions and I'm like, I don't want to sit there and answer them all at once. Just ask me and prompt me and I'll answer them as we go.
Yeah, there's just time limits on usage on the
There
free
you go.
version. I think the other difference here is if anyone's ever noticed, like in the top left-hand corner, there's a drop-down menu where at the top it probably says Chat GPT 4.0 or 5.0, and there's a drop-down with all of the different models that you can use, and text is available, or the voice mode is on the 4.0 model. But in order to like use a higher model with more advancement, I believe that's the paid version. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like a nuance too, but it's also interesting to look at all the different models that there are that can use that have different specializations based upon what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, you're all early on in your business and I don't encourage people to take on expenses that they don't need. This one might be one that you'd want to consider, not knowing exactly what the differences are. Although I know there's other writing models out there that you could do the same thing with, and maybe they're cheaper. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the third pillar, client delivery. This is a really fun, or at least I think very, very helpful. A lot of people feel a little bit squeamish about micromanaging their clients. So you don't want to piss them off. You don't want to like bother them. They're not answering you. You're supposed to have the deadline Friday, but now they haven't responded with their reviews of the draft that you sent them. And you're just sitting on your hands waiting and you're not really sure what to do. You don't want to sound rude or anything like that. So this is where something like ChatGPT can really help you write an email that maybe you don't want to write yourself. You're not sure what to say. So a basic move here would be to say, write a warm but firm email to a nonprofit client who's gone quiet, remind them of the project timeline and outline next steps. A pro tip here is that this is why the proposal is so important and why communication channels should be outlined in that proposal that we talked about in the previous prompt. Because this time when this happens, when a client stops responding, is when you can point back to the proposal and say, hey, listen, would love to keep working with you, but if you don't respond, we're going to have to start delaying deadlines. So ChatGPT can really take the pressure off of you when you feel like kind of weird about how to write the email. Now, the advanced variation, which I think is such an awesome trick, is to feed ChatGPT every scenario that you've ever had with a client not paying you, they've missed their deadline, they missed a meeting, or their scope creep is happening. There's so many things that probably have happened to you. The longer that you've been a consultant, the more frequent these things become, and you're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. You can create a bank for yourself of standard sort of canned responses for common client situations like missed deadline, feedback delay, scope creep. And that way, when it happens, you have a process in place and you say, oh, they were supposed to give me feedback in 48 hours. It's been 72 hours. I haven't heard from them. Copying and pasting this email to them and saying, hey, reminder, you've missed the deadline. Here's what happens next. Here's what I need you to do next so that we can stay on track. It helps you because you don't feel all of the emotional baggage of having to write that email if you feel uncomfortable. It's just a process you have in place in your business, copy and paste and send. So this is like the softer skills of consulting that I find a lot of people will tell me they don't invoice because they don't want to ask for the money that they have earned after doing a project. So if any of you have done that, like not invoiced, it's just crazy. This can help you if you feel some kind of emotional holdup or hang up to just have that ready to go, have these things templated so that you don't have to deal with the emotional stuff around that if it's a problem for you. All right. I see stuff in the chat. Is this anything for me?
No, they were just really
Just
cheering you
yawning.
on for this piece.
Okay.
This. And then we had another person say, people are so overwhelmed across the board, especially in nonprofits, that one can feel that he, she, they spend way too much time following up with clients. And that does take a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
And that's total. I mean, that is like a way different topic that we can get into about the consultant's responsibility, but there's definitely limits if a client is non-responsive or not following your guidelines. But that's why setting those guidelines and those expectations early is really just critical. We've never had a client miss a payment. We've never had a client not respond because I always have my proposal right there to point back to as the contract we signed at the beginning of the engagement. So you guys can, if you have any questions about that, you can reach out after this training. But yeah, there's only so much that can be expected of you if people don't want to listen.
Yeah, I'll just say one of our consultants in our mentorship, she actually put up gratitudes wins, and one of them was she had to fire her first client. And a lot of that was around not setting the right expectations, which she corrected later, but it was more of like just being really honest, and it was similar to what you're explaining now. So
Yeah. We did that too. I remember the first time we fired a client, we were like, this is just not going to work for us. And we were so afraid because it was only our second client. And it turned out fine. It turned out better for everyone because all of that stress went away and we're able to focus on clients that really did light us up. Okay. And then for the operation, someone had mentioned earlier that time management is an issue. It's always an issue when you're working for yourself. So we can use ChatGPT, and there's a ton of other tools. I was just looking at Notion. Someone in our community just shared that with me yesterday, which sounds like a really cool productivity planner. But sticking with ChatGPT for now, maybe your weeks feel scattered, there's too much busy work, or what was happening to me for a long time was that I would be trying to work on a proposal or would do some deep work for a client. And then I would have like sales calls or discovery calls or just client meetings peppered in throughout my day. So every time I tried to put my head down and work, I would have to pop up and go into a meeting. And that's really just not productive. It's very difficult to do. When we are employees, a lot of times we don't have that much control over our schedule. We just have to take those meetings. But when you are a consultant, you own your own business, you own your schedule too. So I am always trying to empower consultants to really take advantage of that because you can build your day however you want to. And once you do that, it's so liberating. If you want to build in exercise early in the day, you want to build in family time, you want to build in lunch time for yourself. There's all these things that we can do to build a schedule that works for us. But it kind of comes once you start understanding what your recurring tasks are every week and every month. And ChatGPT can really help you take those tasks. If you feed it like, hey, every week I need to do content batching, I need to do this amount of client work. These are the clients, these are the hours. I need to spend this much time doing outreach to potential new clients. I need to, and then spend this amount of time in QuickBooks or on the back end of my business. And then you say, these are the hours I like to work. This is when my yoga class is, and this is when I have to pick up the kids from school. I'll put that all into ChatGPT. It can actually come back and give you a schedule that works. And you can ask it to do something like prioritize revenue generating activities, which is something I'm always hammering in the community. We tend to fill our space with busy work when there's extra time in the calendar. And it's not always the stuff that makes us money. It's the stuff that makes us feel like we're busy. And we also like to make sure that there's time every week that is protected for deep work. So that's a really powerful prompt that changed my life. My schedule now is super, super organized. I know exactly when I'm working. I know every day when I wake up and I get on my computer what I'm expected to do. There's no guesswork. There's never a time where I sit down and I'm like, oh, I have 2 hours. What do I do with them? I always know what is on my calendar because of organizing and time blocking. So the advanced variation would be to actually come up with a recurring weekly time block, and then you can put that on your Google Calendar or whatever project management tool you have. We've done this, and I mean, it's just flawless. It's the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. So I got hours and hours and hours back to the point where we work with our clients, we run everything, and maybe I work total 25 to 30 hours a week. Never.
Can I?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know we're talking about prompts and not tools, but I just like, I feel like I have to share this and this is, I discovered a tool earlier this year that changed my life when it comes to managing calendars. So I don't know if this happens to a lot of you, but most times in the engagements that I have, it's a lot of fractional work. And so I'm getting access to like new email addresses within, the client's company ecosystem, which means individual calendars across multiple clients. So I'm managing like 5, 6 calendars, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, like I was running into this issue where I was getting double booked all the time. I didn't like protecting my time was really, really hard. And I found this tool called reclaim.ai. And for $10 a month, it can sync all of your calendars. So I can have all of my calendars talk to each other so that no matter who's booking a meeting with me on any given calendar, I never get double booked. You can also time block and protect time you never want to get booked. It'll give you weekly summaries of how you're spending your time by meeting category. You can build your meeting scheduler through this tool. It's just absolutely incredible. And so, I never have to do the back and forth juggle and waste time doing that because everything's automatically synced. It has been a life-changing addition to my tech stack.
No, that's amazing. If you want to drop that link for everyone, I'm sure they're curious about it, but I cannot emphasize and take control of your time, because if you're stressed out with your work, or you feel like it's not getting done, you're not landing the clients, or the client work is too much, it's a time issue. For most solo entrepreneurs, absolutely a time issue. So these are just some basic ways that you can start to get a hold of that. And like, yeah, Bryan said, there's a million tools out there. If that one's working for him, it might work for you. And no, he doesn't get commission for that, I don't think.
Unfortunately, no, but I should give them a call. Huh?
Yeah, you're like a spokesperson for that tool. All right. And now just the last one. Now, I don't know how many of you do use the paid version, and I don't even know what it costs, if it's like $20 a month or something more than that. But it was game changing for us. So I do just want to mention this because this is a really big deal. You can actually build custom GPTs in there. And when we figured this out, it was just like crazy how much faster and how much better the work product became. We have trained several of our own GPTs. Catalina has one called a catbot, and she's uploaded everything she's ever written to this thing, everything about her, and understands her tone, her voice, her personality, basically. So she's given it everything. We have trained one on the Relatable Nonprofit Mentorship program. So we've taken transcripts from every training we've ever run, and we've fed it to this. So I have like my own personal like course assistant. When I'm working on developing new materials for the course, I ask it like, hey, what did we teach in this module or in this session? And it can pull that information up for me. It knows everything about our brand, our communication style. And we've also trained it on our business so that it knows how we engage with our clients, everything like that. And we don't need to teach it again. So once it knows all of this information, it keeps it there. And it works like a built-in assistant. So it uses our voice, it talks about our services, and we don't need to provide it at that extra detail every time we go in. So again, I'm not an advocate necessarily for ChatGPT or paying for stuff, but if you are going to make that decision, you feel like it's time in your business to make that tech addition, that is a really cool tool that I've been telling a lot of people about. So that is my bonus, my fifth, not really a prompt, but it's so cool. It's awesome. So with that being said, which of these prompts do you think would save most time in your business right now? Or have you all tried any of these things before? Is there anything I missed maybe that you've been doing that you think is a tip to share with the group? This is really a time for some collaboration, so I'd appreciate feedback. And feel free to chat
And
too.
everybody should have the ability to turn their mic on and off and their camera on and off too, just as a heads up.
Wow. Melanie said training my own GPT is valuable to me. And then she mentioned Go High Level is something that she's using.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we are
Nice.
familiar with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of jump in here. Like for many of my clients, like right when I start an engagement, I immediately start training a bot on the client specifically, so that just gives me such a head start. So and high level, Go High Level. Let
Yeah.
me drop there was a question about it in the chat. Here's the link. It's essentially a all-in-one, kind of, and I would say it's like a more approachable, financially feasible CRM.
Yeah.
That has like a sales marketing hub.
We did have a question about if we can share the second prompt. Christina had to walk away for a second. So can we share this second prompt, please?
Yep. And Heather, we'll have the recording available and we can share the slides as well. No problem.
The second one was your proposal writing. So that's how to draft a proposal and what to include in it. So overview, scope, outcomes, timeline, and clear next steps. And then if you want to do the advanced mode, that's actually asking ChatGPT to interview you and pressure test the scope of work, ask you what you missed, what else you should include, anything that might be confusing to a client before you submit it and send it over. So basically it edits and proofs you.
We had someone ask, I came into this today thinking marketing is where I needed the most help, but these tips for operations are going to be a game changing for me.
Awesome.
We had another question about, just want to confirm, are we sharing these slides with the attendees post follow-up?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We can share recording and slides. No problem.
Yes. Great.
Right.
No problem.
One just said a client bot. That's blowing my mind.
A client. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's so helpful.
It's really crazy. Like I said, I hate to be like, oh, get it, like pay, because I don't really like to tell people to pay for stuff, but it's really helpful. That's definitely a business expense that we will be renewing.
Yeah. I'm going to throw one other out there. And this is honestly like, I'm just being very open-handed and just kind of showing the relatable nonprofit cards a little. Like we're trying new things all the time. And I know we talked a lot about prompts and marketing, and I wanted to drop like another sales op. This is something that I actually implemented this week on Monday. It's free. There is a free version. And if you don't get a lot of website traffic, it's a really great tool. I think we're kind of evaluating if it works for us right now. But I have other clients use a tool called RB2B. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this. It's a little Big Brotherish and it's a little creepy, but it's a Slack integration if you use Slack, and it automatically sets up a channel, and it actually what's the word? It de-anonymizes.
Yeah.
It de-anonymizes your website traffic. So we'll actually have a Slack channel that pops up with names, companies, emails, LinkedIn URLs, and company revenue. And it shows you who's coming to your website and learning about you, exploring about you. So if you're looking just to like do sales a little smarter and not harder, it's been incredibly valuable just to kind of have that level of insight. It's as simple as adding a copy and paste snippet of code onto your website. It's very, very simple. And when you sign up, they walk you through it step by step. It's really easy. So just like another tool that's sort of helping with like efficiency, process, and like things we're evaluating on what works for us with this in real time.
Yeah, there's so many tools, and we've been learning a lot about this month. We had a guest speaker come last week, and she shared like 40, 50. It was just crazy how many are out there. Yeah, Ruben, to your question, I don't know. I'm pretty agnostic. Other people have their favorite tools. ChatGPT is just the one that we use, but I think it's like a more flexible one than some of the others that are more specific. But there's definitely other ones out there, I'm sure, and there's more and more getting better all the time. So it's really a preference. You can ask around. And Teresa, I know that in the paid version, there are settings that you can turn off to protect your information. So like it won't share it back, or you can ask it to erase its memory. There are things that you can do to protect your data for sure. That is a great question.
Yeah, I was going to recommend the erase the data and just like be very careful and check those settings with anything that's proprietary, especially on behalf of a client.
Yes, that is super important. With all the good, there comes bad. So just be mindful. I just want to round it out by saying prompts are powerful, but they're not a strategy. So AI can draft proposals, but it can't decide your pricing. It can't decide your services. It can write emails, but it can't set your boundaries with clients. It can't talk to your clients for you. It may be able to plan your week, but it cannot determine your business model. Are you doing hourly pricing, project pricing, value-based pricing, high ticket services, online courses? You can't decide all of these things for you. Ultimately, you're a human being and you're running your own business. And what you need is really a strong understanding of your inputs based in that business strategy to get the right outputs, both when using AI and just in general running your business. So there are limits, but this is totally helpful just as an assistant to you as you're getting started. If you are interested in more of the business strategy side of things or some of the stuff behind these inputs that I talked about today, did just want to share a little bit more about the community that we run in addition to our nonprofit consulting work. It is the Relatable Nonprofit Mentorship Program. We've been running it for about 18 months now. We have about 60 nonprofit consultant members. It is really an amazing community. I think a few of our members are actually on the call right now. It's a combination of on-demand learning, live community events. We also have one-on-one coaching sessions where you can sit with me or sit with Catalina, walk through the things that you're stuck on in your business. And you can also network with, we have 60 plus peers in the community who you can meet all around the country that are, really just fabulous people at all stages of their consulting journey. Some are still full-time nonprofit employees. Some are running businesses and agencies and have a full roster of clients. So in the last 18 months or so that we've been running it, we've met some incredible people and we've been able to support so many nonprofit professionals who are embarking on this consulting journey. So if that's of interest to you, just a few stats here about the people in the program. 71% land their first paid client within 60 days. We just did a survey of our members and we were really pleased with that response. A little over 2K for the average value of projects won by members, but I have seen retainers up to 5,000 a month for one client. So there is a very broad range there with client work that they're landing. And 91% of our members do report very high confidence to continue growing their business. We really just have some of the best people in this community. I can't speak highly enough. So if you're interested, Tamara is here on the call. She's one of our team members. You can book a complimentary advisory session with her, ask her more about the program, ask about me and Catalina, ask about how it works. You can scan this QR code here, or you can follow up with us offline after the call. And we'd love to talk to you. So if you have any questions, if you're interested, if you're just looking for some extra support, we're here and we'd be happy to help. With that,
Awesome.
do we have any other-
We'll be sure to send you the link. Tamara, if you want to drop your calendar in the chat, that could help too. So I'll give you a sec to do that. But just want to say thanks everybody for coming out today. Thanks for the active chat, the contributions. Love the conversation. We know that your time is valuable and hopefully that this past 45 minutes felt informative and supportive. And thanks so much for tuning in. Till next time, we'll be back next month with another session.
All right, bye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, y'all.